I will be telling this with a sigh. Somewhere ages and ages hence, two roads diverged in a wood, and I took the one less traveled by, and that has made all of the difference. Hello out there in podcast land, ladies and gentlemen. We're a little late tonight. We're having some technical difficulties, but hopefully, I think we're going to get them ironed out here. Welcome to another edition of The Road Less Traveled. I am your host, Dennis Carroll, and this is the other host, Mr. Gerald Fountain. Good
Hello.
evening, sir.
Good evening.
Tonight, we're going to take a journey down the road less traveled to the mysteries of Mount Shasta. And believe me,
Yeah.
there are a lot of mysteries connected to it. Absolutely. How have you been getting along there, sir?
Been doing good.
Oh, good,
Been
good.
busy.
Yeah, I know you've had some interesting shows here lately. I enjoyed that one on the Fae.
Yeah, that was a really good show. If anybody hasn't checked it out, go back
That
to
was
our Sunday show with Kate Ray from Hare in Hawthorne. And we had a really good talk on Fae folk and fairies and all the folklore behind it.
yeah, that's always interesting stuff there, definitely. I want to say hello to everybody checking in the chat room there. There's the Cryptid Huntress. Hello, Jessica. Good to have you here.
Yes.
Wizard Moon and Kyle Smith and Daryl and somebody named Midwest Night Watchers in here.
Oh,
And we got Shiro. Let's see who else we got checking in. We got Dawn and Catherine. So we're starting to load up a little bit here. Yeah, tonight we're going to Mount Shasta.
yeah.
Absolutely. Interesting subject. A lot of legends and mysteries about Mount Shasta. I always wanted to go there and check it out for myself. It is a very interesting thing. Absolutely. Definitely having alien interference tonight. Maybe the aliens of Mount Shasta don't want us talking about this.
Maybe not.
Yeah. Robot Grandma was Mount Shasta. Yeah, yep. That's right, Jessica. She sure was. A lot of weird stuff on Mount Shasta. I've always really wanted to go spend some time there. Absolutely. Very interesting place. We're gonna talk about the legends of Mount Shasta tonight. And some other things that might come up. Who knows where we'll go, what rabbit holes we'll take, but we'll see. We'll see where everything ends up at. But I've been immensely enjoying. We talked about that earlier. Your creature feature shows you got going on, and your old movies you've been showing. And we want to tell everybody to check that out. There was a retired lieutenant colonel out there. Yeah, I remember hearing something about that. Lieutenant Colonel was checking on a lot of that stuff, and also there's the stories of the subterranean cities and all that. So we'll get into that definitely. But yeah, I've been enjoying your creature features, and you've been showing some good ones, some of the old classics. So check out Gerald's channel on Rumble when you get a chance, and he's got some interesting stuff on there. Absolutely.
Yeah, it's
Cryptid
been
Hunter says
great.
retired Colonel Billy Fay Woodward claimed he was the Lemurians and Mount Shasta. Yeah, I remember hearing about that. So, what's your take on Mount Shasta, Gerald?
Oh, it's a highly strange place. I mean, you got everything that you could ever want just in that one locale, whether it's Native American legends and folklore, their oral history talks all about the things that were there at Mount Shasta. We have UFO, Bigfoot, all kinds of cryptids, paranormal, portals, you name it, it's there.
You even got reptilians, and you got the secret societies out there. You got the works. I mean, it is. I would say Mount Shasta is sort of the, you know, paramount of paranormal stuff.
Yeah,
Definitely.
they
And
still
that's a
have the
pun intended, by
chapter.
the way.
They still have the chapter of I Am out there.
Yeah. And also, there was the guy that supposedly found a subterranean uh, enclave that had like giants in it, the
Yeah.
skeletons of giants. Yeah, that's fascinating stuff. And when they went to go back with him, he was going to take them back to explore the cave systems. He disappeared and was never seen again.
Yeah, I got some
I
newspaper.
think I
I got
think
some
his name was
newspaper.
J.C. Brown. I think
Yep.
his name was
Yeah,
J.C.
he's on my
Brown. Yeah.
list. I got some newspaper articles on him.
Hmm. Yep. That was a fascinating guy. And, that kind of ties in, and Jessica knows about this too. That kind of ties in with those red haired giants, that the Navajo talk about and all. They had a war with them, and, the Lovelock Cave giants, you know what I'm talking about? That kind of
Yep.
goes along with them. You got these similar. Here's the weird thing about this, girl. You got a lot of similar legends out in the West. And you got to wonder about that because, and these people were 1,000 miles away from each other. But yet they come up with the same stuff. That's very strange.
It is strange. It's like I said, that's a weird place, and it's one of the places where they say portals are active all the time.
Mm-hmm. Definitely, if you were going to look for some portals, that would be the place to go. You want to show it? Have you got a picture of Mount Shasta? We show everybody what it looks like. Some people that's not familiar with it. It's a beautiful mountain range, and it's in California, but it's sort of, I think, on the border between California and Oregon, I think, or something like that.
Yep. This one's my favorite picture with the road leading in up to Shasta.
Yeah. That is a classic looking mountain, isn't it?
Yep.
But there's a weird here's a strange thing about mountains. They have their own weather, especially this mountain because it's got volcanic activity going on in it. By the way, it's been very volcanic for a million years, I guess, as long as it's been there. I don't know about it ever erupting, but look at those. Those are called lentil clouds, by the way, and they form at the top of that mountain because of hot air rising out of it.
There's a big talk about UFO shaped clouds. This, like you said, they're the lentil clouds,
And there is talk about UFOs hiding in those clouds, using them as camouflage.
Right.
That is some strange looking cloud formations. Absolutely. Catherine says they're ships. Well, they might kind of look kind of like ships, but they're not. They're cloud. They are actual cloud formations, but they're talk about UFOs hiding in those cloud formations, using them to anchor their ships in. But those are really clouds, basically, and they're called lentil clouds. They're well-known formations, but they only form over volcanic areas like that because hot air is rising up into cold air, and it's pushing it back down. See, and it's causing it to look like that.
Now that one, I think somebody in the distance could mistake that as a UFO.
It would look like that to you. It definitely would. You could see why it would be mistaken for that. Definitely. It always reminds me of that. I don't know if you remember that TV series years ago, V.
Yeah, I like
and
that show.
those big ship mother ships came up. They were like huge. I mean, they took up the whole sky. You remember that those
Yep.
ships? That's what that reminds me of. That's what I would think a mother ship would look like, definitely.
Well, if one was going to show up, I think it would show up at Mount Shasta.
Yeah. If there's one place that would show up, it definitely would be there. Absolutely. But you've got a lot of supposed UFO activity around Mount Shasta. You've got alien being seen. You've got supposedly a reptilian connection there. It's supposed to be a secret underground military complex. And that's where the robot grandma and all that supposedly comes in out. A lot of experimentation supposedly going on around there. And here's the interesting thing about that, Gerald. I'm just going to throw this at you, see what you think about it. But look at the government likes to pick out places like that. Look at Area 51, Mount Shasta, we're talking about now. These different places, it seems like they want to pick out places like that because they already got a reputation. They already got a reputation for strangeness. And they say, well, if we do something here, maybe nobody will notice it,
Right.
I think it's camouflage that they're doing. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, if you're, either way, whether the government's creating all this high strangeness or the high strangeness was already there, what better place to hide a base and just blame it on other stuff, all the experiments and things that you're doing? Like, well, no, this was already here. We already had this stuff going on before we got here.
Mm-hmm. Well, of course, the government's very good at false flags, as they call them, doing stuff, to sort of distract you from what they really are doing. And it would not surprise me a bit that they don't do things using holographs and stuff like that to get you to believe one thing and what's really something else altogether is really going on. That's the way the government operates, and that's a psyops that they use, and they've used that for years. I mean, it goes way, way back. They started doing that stuff in World War I, actually, doing the psyops kind of thing. It's all part of psychological warfare, and they use that to cover up things that they're doing. So it makes a lot of sense when you think about it. Absolutely.
Absolutely. I mean, there's just so much there, between the Bigfoot and the cryptids and Lemurian giants and the deer man and the wild men. And I mean, you can just go on and on of all the list of stuff that's there.
Of course, you got Bigfoot and Dog Man being sighted. You got the ghost choirs like she was talking about just now, kind of talking about. You got supposedly. You ever heard of the Washers? Now I'm not talking about angels. They
Yeah.
call them the Washers of the mountain. They're like in these big long robes, and they stand around on the mountain. And they
Right.
say it's a good idea not to approach them. They talk. And by the way, the Washers are seen all along the coast of California in the
Yep.
Highland areas.
Yeah. It's
Uh,
also the superstitious mountains have a lot of watchers.
oh yeah. And here's the interesting thing, Gerald, about these mountains, and they were considered to be sacred areas to the Native Americans, and also whenever they had sacred areas, the Native Americans would curse these places. You know, they would put a curse like on them because that was a sacred area to keep people away from it, to put guardians on the land and watch it. You have to wonder if maybe that's not part of the history of Mount Shasta.
Right.
Yeah, look at all the sightings clustered very close to that. That's amazing.
Yeah. If you're ever going to have a sighting of Bigfoot, not only is it across the whole U.S., but look how populated it is on the West Coast.
Mhm. Look
It's
how much it
crazy.
is in the East Coast. There's a lot more sightings in the eastern part of the United States and the West, but there are a concentration of them on the West Coast like that. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
That's amazing to think about. And of course, you see some dogman sightings as well as other cryptids that have supposedly been seen on Mount Shasta.
Oh,
Uh,
absolutely.
yeah.
I mean, you got everything from Thunderbird. Like I
Mm-hmm.
said, you got werewolf reports, you got wild men, you got mammoths. I mean, it just runs the whole gambit.
Dinosaurs.
Yeah,
Dinosaurs have been seen supposedly. The list just goes on and on. You talk about a mecca of weirdness. That's Mount Shasta. Definitely. Uh, that's the one. That's one reason why I always wanted to take a visit there. We need to fly out there one day, Gerald, and kick around a little bit.
that's right.
When you get you a private jet, you pick me up, okay?
I will.
All right. We'll take
You know,
we'll take a look in.
the one story I found that I thought was fascinating, I never heard before, was the giant centipede that was supposed to be like 10 feet long that
Oh,
people say
yeah.
they see around Mount Shasta. Now, I don't know if that comes out of the lava tubes from inner Earth or where.
And also, there are giant spiders sighted on Mount Shasta, and they're supposed to drag unwary travelers down into their lairs and eat them. A
Oh,
lot of people suppose they've disappeared because of these giant spider shafts. They call them spider shafts on the mountain itself. These are like giant trapdoor spiders,
dude.
supposedly. That's weird to think about.
Yeah, it
I
is.
mean, trapdoor spiders, they kind of bushwhack you real good, you know?
Be like in a Lord of the Rings movie where the spiders came down out of the trees and they'd shoot you with their venom and wrap you up.
Oh, yeah. And of course, the Native Americans on the West Coast, I can't think of the actual tribes, but several of them have legends about spider women, that these women can turn into spiders. And I think they get this legend from the Black Widow because the spider women eat their boyfriends and husbands, okay?
Oh,
And yeah, they supposedly can turn into these things and these giant spiders. That is a distinct legend out there, especially on the West Coast with these Native American tribes. And of course, you got the very famous Thunderbird, which is supposedly sighted over the mountain once in a while.
right.
Yeah, and the list goes on and on. There are a lot of legends on the West Coast. There's one of them I cannot think of the name of it right now, but it's like a giant otter type looking thing that comes out of the water, and it will unalive you too, supposedly,
Well,
and
I know
drag you out on the water. Yeah.
Jessica talked about the Otter Man, but I don't know if that's the same one or not.
Well, yeah, they call it the Otter Man, but it's got another name. I can't think of it. But it's the Otter Man, yeah. He's supposed to, you're supposed to be very wary of him around lakes and the seashore and all that because he come out of the water and get you. So you got some fascinating amount of folklore and superstition and legend out there,
Oh, absolutely.
Absolutely. And, of course, there's the story about reptilians. There's supposed to be a secret reptilian base under Mount Shasta. And I've gotten reports in the past, and this goes down into Los Angeles and places like that, that there are supposed to be up under California a lot of tunnels and cave systems that these reptilians live in. And these are not like these are sort of like these the chud, the subhuman underground dwellers, cannibal
Yeah.
underground. They're kind of like that, but they come out of the sewer systems. They're large sewer systems in California. I mean, they're so big you can drive trucks through some of them.
Yeah,
And they
we'll have
supposedly
to do a show
these
on
things.
just that. Just the dwellers, like the tunnels, the reptilians under LA.
Mm-hmm. And I don't know if anybody out there is watching, and that's another good movie for you to play sometime. Them about the giant ants. They went in, they got in the underground sewer system of Los Angeles. By the way, that's a bad situation. Uh, Perfect ant farm, right, for giant ants. But anyway, uh, there's a lot of legends of that, and supposedly these tunnels and cave systems run all the way up into the mountains of Mount Shasta and all that. They're all connected, supposedly.
Absolutely. I mean, not only do you have the Lemurian city, you know, you got Telos, then you got the reptilian city, and you got these shafts from the lava tubes themselves. And like you said, sometimes the spiders might use those tubes, or they might have their own tubes. And it's like, how do you know where to start and where to stop with all these things? There's just so much in this one area.
Oh yeah, oh yeah, it's wild, wild stuff. Like I say, it definitely is a mecca of weirdness. But this ties into the guy that supposedly found the. To me, it kind of has a tie-in with the guy that supposedly found the underground city in California. And this is not in the mountain though, but it's under Los Angeles and all that. You remember that?
Yep.
I just wonder if there's a tie-in with that because you got a lot of underground activity out there.
Oh, I bet there's a tunnel going from LA and all over the West Coast to Mount Shasta, and then to the Midwest, to the East Coast. They say there's tunnels that go across the whole U.S.
Well, according to ancient folklore, Gerald, the whole world, the whole planet Earth, is honeycombed with these tunnels all through it, and you supposedly can go from one continent to other, from continent to continent, through these tunnels without ever going over the ocean. I mean, you can avoid that altogether and go through that. It would not surprise me if that is true. But they say this is a well kept secret by the government because the government utilizes those tunnel systems.
Absolutely.
Yep. They even talk about, and you hear people talk about, the secret space program and all that stuff that's going on. They're supposed to have these high speed trains in these tunnel systems. Like you could get on this train and, like in, 8 o'clock in the morning and eat lunch in London if you wanted to, think about that. That's fast, buddy. And they say this is worldwide that these trains, the system is in place in a lot of these tunnels, and that the governments of the world know about this, but it's a very well kept, supposedly well kept government secret. Yeah.
I mean, can you imagine being on the East Coast and being on the West Coast within minutes compared to the hours it takes you to drive or fly?
Mm-hmm. Well, just like I was telling you about London, actually, you could get on a Concorde and theoretically eat breakfast on the plane and eat lunch in London. Definitely. You could make it. Usually the flight takes about 2 or 3 hours across the pond called the Atlantic Ocean. But if you could get on a high speed train, you would be there in about 30, 45 minutes, probably.
Yeah.
That's amazing to think about.
Did you hear that they're actually bringing Concorde back? They got a new revised version of the Concorde, and it's going to split the time in half. It's going to cut it in half what it used to be. It took like 4 hours to get from the U.S. to London. Now it's going to be like 2 hours.
Mm-hmm. And another thing, if you did have that kind of a tunnel system with high speed stuff in it, that would be a big government secret because you can move things very quickly that way from point A to point B. You could also have very quick strike teams. If you wanted, militarily wise, this would be a big boon to any military of any country. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
They hooked up to something like that. Definitely. Absolutely.
Yeah, if you could pop up anywhere in the U.S. and even foreign countries, if you could be there within less than an hour or hour and a half, say, can be anywhere and utilize your troops.
Oh yeah, and there have been sighted over Mount Shasta. Of course, the very well-known triangular craft, the one that I saw, actually my own self, I saw that. I know they exist, okay, because I saw one with my own eyes. But there's also another one called the flying platform, or really sort of like they call a sky ship. And what this thing is like an aircraft carrier that floats in the sky. And supposedly they have something like that. This kind of stuff is all tied in supposedly to the secret space program, that they've got going on.
Right.
And they say that one of the docking stations for this is Mount Shasta. You know.
Yeah,
But
because
over
people.
the years, Gerald, I'm going to ask you about this if you've heard about this. Over the years, people say they have sighted, gigantic doors in certain parts of the mountain that were camouflaged. These doors open to allow ships in and out of them. Have you heard about those?
Yeah, I've heard all kinds of stuff about they people say they see these lights, beaming from Mount Shasta, like the hills glowing, and then all of a sudden they see these objects fly in, and it's like it goes through a portal or through a doorway, like you're saying, and there's all kinds of stuff like that happening.
Mm-hmm. Well, also I've heard reports of these giant doors being also seen in the desert, in certain desert areas. In Arizona, New Mexico, places like that. Supposedly, uh, that's wild to think about.
Well, the weird thing about it is that NASA in 2013 came out with a term X points, and it's like the magnetic field of Earth where all the vortexes are, and it connects with a vortex or like a wormhole to the sun using its magnetic power. And they're calling them X points. Some of them can be random where they fade in and out, but other ones seem to be very stable where supposedly they can use those to travel back and forth to wherever they want to go. And they're called X points, and Mount Shasta is one of the biggest ones in the US.
Oh yeah. So a lot of smoke there. I don't know where the fire's at, but you got a lot of smoke coming out of Mount Shasta, definitely, and it ain't volcanic. There's some wild stuff going on. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, there's supposed to be these big doors. By the way, I was going to mention they're supposed to be connected to the secret underground military bases where they can, bring helicopters in, Apache helicopters, and all that, and go in through these doorways. And supposedly, that's where a lot of these triangular ships come out of, and all that. That they're supposed to be tied in with that. I don't know about the flying, the flying aircraft carrier, but that's very much like what you see in that very famous movie, Sky Captain in the World of Tomorrow.
Right.
That's where they supposedly got the idea for that ad.
You know what's really weird? In 2008, they saw a jellyfish UFO, the ones that transform and change and they have the tentacles. And a lot of people have been seeing those since the drones came up across the US. A lot of people have been seeing the plasma shaped UFOs and objects. But a real famous one in 2008, the jellyfish UFO appeared over Mount Shasta, where tons and tons of people all saw it at the same time.
Mm-hmm. And of course, I think some of these things are definitely alien-like probes. And you will see those around in places that I call them. Some people call them orbs, whatever you want to call them. I think there's some kind of probes over my own self. That's my own personal feeling. That whether they're put up there by the government or who knows who else,
Right.
I think that's what they're up there for. Definitely to keep an eye on stuff. Put it this way, Gerald. Okay, if you and I had a secret enclave somewhere, and we had a lot of super secret stuff in it, we gotta make sure we secure it. We got to keep an eye on it. And what's the best way to do that is to keep your probes on it. Keep probes going around and watching it
Yep.
24/7. You got to do that if you want to keep your secret secret. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, if you got a place that has such high energy, high strangeness, whether it's a cryptid, UFOs, whatever, what better place to put a secret base where anything that strange happens that you do, whether you create a vortex or a portal or you have a UFO or a special project that you're flying around, you can just blame it on the unknown. Let people think it's a UFO or a cryptid or whatever, when really it's a government agency doing it.
And there's a possibility that some of these probes are disguised as drones, and the drones are smoke screens for this kind of stuff, that would
Right.
not surprise me a bit. And you hear a lot about these drone activity around Mount Shasta, here lately, especially on the West Coast. And it seems like this stuff kind of, I don't know if it does that to you, but Gerald, but to me, it seems like it runs in waves sometimes, It'll be very dense for a while, and then it'll, kind of go out and then it comes back again. It's almost as if they're, uh, running different chapters of this stuff on people, To me,
Right.
it just seems like it's a lot of top secret type governmental stuff going on that they want to keep quiet. But here's another thing you got to remember this about the government: whenever they do stuff like that, they also like to experiment on the public. That is the number one experimental type area. You put it out in public, and it's like that old saying: "What's the best place to hide anything? In plain sight."
Yep. Absolutely. And, it makes me wonder, we attribute, 411 missing people cases, the reptilians, the Bigfoot, the UFO alien abductions. What if it's an experiment? What if they're bringing people into a lab and trying stuff out on them? That's why they disappear, not because of the cryptids. Maybe the cryptids are getting a bad rap.
And think about this, girl. Think about this. If you're experimenting with portals, what's the best guinea pig in the world, right?
Yeah.
You send people through it, just see what happens. I mean, that would not surprise me a bit that they're doing that, and that's why you got some of these missing people. I'm not saying all of them are that way, but a lot of that might be part of that, and that is the perfect experiment. Put it this way, okay? If I wanted to experiment with a portal, I would send you through and say, well, nobody's going to miss Gerald, hopefully, and we'll use him for this, see what happens, but yeah, and there are a bunch of missing person reports around Mount Shasta too, by the way.
Right. I mean, right now, the federal government controls all the national parks and all these natural landscapes, Mount Shasta and all that. And what better place to grab people? Look at how many 411 cases are in national parks for the government. And then conveniently, there's
But
military
you
bases.
can't. You got to look at it this way, Joe. You can't. You got to look at it this way. You can't use the military personnel because you got to account for them. See what I'm saying? But a stranger going through the national park, snatch up and use him. Nobody's going to, inquire that much about them. No, it's just another missing person. You know what I'm saying? So you don't use your military for that.
Right.
You use the public.
I mean, if you disappear in a park, most people are going to think, okay, he fell off a cliff or he got hurt somewhere and died, or a bear or something got him out there, or even a Bigfoot. A lot of people will say Bigfoot will snatch people up. So they got like 3 bases they covered for somebody being missing.
When I always heard about the certain company called the CIA, they like to do stuff like that because that's what they call the perfect alibi.
Right.
Like nobody can connect it to. You know what I'm saying?
They got plausible denial when they can blame it on Bigfoot and bears and natural habitat.
Mm-hmm. I mean, and that is what the government likes to do in places like Mount Shasta and some of these other places. They're putting experiments out there. They're just seeing how far they can push the envelope, and seeing
Absolutely.
how, that is the perfect way. The perfect experimental area will always be the public sector, when you think about it. Even if you were to put out clones or robots, where would you send them, Gerald? You're not going to send them out in the desert. You're going to send them out in the public. You're going to send them to the mall and see if anybody notices them. You know what I'm saying? And look at that alien thing we had at the mall a couple of years back. That's a perfect experimental ground for stuff like that.
I mean, that's one of the theories right now. That okay, the government or whatever agency has got UFOs or drone technology. And so that's why they like these stories of people reporting UFOs. The same thing with Tesla and the robots and all these companies bringing out all these servant robots because the government wants to bring out military robots eventually. And it's going to be old hat for us. We're not going to care because we've seen robots for how long now?
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
It's like a desensitization. They want to desensitize us.
Yep. Exactly right. They want to get it in the public mind, the consciousness, and that's part of the psyops, by the way, to get it, desensitized to it and to make it more commonplace. And that way, what did I say earlier about the best place to hide something? Out in the open, make it look normal. That's the perfect way to go about it. And here's another thing, people need to think about on this too. These kind of things that's going on with the government and all this stuff. They are definitely doing this for one reason only. It is their secret agenda that they're carrying out. Okay. And it's the way they do things, the way they operate. Pro tem, they've always been that way,
Absolutely. I mean, I think that has a lot to do with the drone and orb sightings and plasma sightings that we saw over New Jersey and the East Coast and everywhere. That, maybe it was a desensitized project. Maybe they wanted that to see how we react. How are we going to react if all of a sudden there's all these ships and stuff showing up in our skies, whether it's our government or coming from somewhere else?
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of like a test program, a test pilot. Let's see how everybody reacts.
Mm-hmm. It may be both going on there. You know what I'm saying? There's supposedly some cooperation between them and off-world stuff. But it would not surprise me a bit if that's not part of the equation. Definitely. Don't think about it. It's good to have one of those satellite phones, but what if they take it away from you? It's not going to do you.
They control the satellite.
Take stuff off of you. You done had it. You're just going to be another one of those missing person cases.
Yeah, they control the satellites and all that. So,
good way to sweep you up under the rug, right?
How's coming all the space launches and all the International Space Station videos and everything they show, we never see all these satellites floating around up there. I mean, there's supposed to be thousands of them. Don't you think eventually you'd see one float by the space station, or it would show one?
They only want you to see what they want you to see, Gerald. That's how they operate.
That's right. Pay no attention to the man behind the curtain.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. Well, I've said that before, and it makes good sense. Governments run on secrets. That's their power. That's their power base. They're not going to share their secrets with you because that would be sharing their power, and they're not going to do that.
Yep.
And and a lot of these people, you hear a lot of times, full disclosure. You're never going to get full disclosure from those guys. Okay, you're going to get the runaround. You're going to get false flags and misdirection and misinformation, but you're not going to get full disclosure. I doubt if you ever will, because, like I say, government's got to have their secrets.
That's right.
Here's another thing, people was recently talking about some of this stuff found under the pyramids and all this other stuff. There's supposed to be a pyramid inside of Mount Shasta. Have you heard about that one?
Yeah, supposedly a lot of these mounds and temples and all this, these mountains that look like they have grass and everything growing on them are supposedly pyramids.
Yeah. And, if that is truly a power source that they found under the pyramids, as some people think it is, almost like a giant battery type thing, what is it there for? I think some of these things may be holdovers like we've talked about before. I won't get into that now because that's another whole series of rabbit holes there, but we've talked about civilizations that may have risen and fallen over the years that we don't even remember anymore. that we've lost memory of.
Right.
And I'm thinking about writing a book on some of this stuff because I call it the echoes of ancient memory. Okay, and you will
Right.
find these echoes, these clues in folklore, in the tales told by different cultures, and without a doubt, there is a lot of lost knowledge and history that we have relinquished over the years that we don't even know about. So you have to wonder if places like the pyramids and Mount Shasta and places like that are connections to these old world civilizations that may have existed, because the Lemurians are supposed to have a connection to Mount Shasta. And the Lemurians also have a connection to, guess what? Surprise, surprise, Atlantis.
Absolutely. You know, that was another thing, and that brings up this book, A Dweller on Two Planets, which is off of the old Tibetan scripts and folklore or oral history that they had about the Lemurians and the Atlanteans having their war, which the Atlanteans went to Shangri-La or Inner Earth, and the Lemurians went to Mount Shasta, and that's how you got the civilization under there.
And of course, the Tartarians are connected to that as well.
Absolutely, the giants.
And that's I was talking about that the other day, and I'm not I'm not a Bible thumper. I try not to be anyway. People hate that, but seem to nowadays they do anyway. But there is a passage in the Bible that speaks about that. We've talked about it before. It says, if you think something is new, nay, it is of olden times, which was before. And that is a very interesting statement there,
Right.
And what it's saying is, you think something is new, you're very wrong, very badly mistaken, because it has been here before.
Right. I mean, I always heard it say is, there's nothing new under the stars.
Yeah, nothing new under the sun. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's where they get that from. That comes from that passage of the Bible, nothing new under the sun. But that's true, and you have to wonder about statements like that. They're pointing you to something, But I think these echoes of ancient memory, are still there, and it's almost as if like they're racial memories. You know what I mean? They're implanted in us almost. It's just
Right.
like trying to remember something. It's just on the tip of your tongue, and you can't,
Yep.
you can't get it. It's there. You almost can remember it, and
Yep.
it's like trying to remember a dream 2 hours after you wake up.
Since you touched on the pyramids, that they found those tubes underneath the Giza pyramids that supposedly is energy, used the free energy, either from the ether or from the quartz crystal bed underneath of them that they connected to. And you look at the hieroglyphics, and I always thought that was weird. They always showed, like spaceship looking things and like a vase that has like an energy cell in it and lights and stuff. Well, if they had free energy that they were using from the pyramids, they would be able to make all that stuff. And maybe that's how they moved all the blocks. They had free energy to help levitate the blocks in place.
It's been speculated, Gerald. The question remains, what was the energy for? And it's been speculated it may have been something along the terms of Tesla wireless energy.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they could have it for all kinds of things.
Think about wireless energy, man. That's amazing stuff. That would be very much approaching like what I've talked about before. With I think I did a show with Chantel on this about the underground kingdom with that power that they had and all that stuff. It was wireless power. They could control it with their minds. That is the ultimate power source when you think about it. You see what I'm saying?
Yep.
Limitless power that can be controlled with thought.
They could take that free energy, that wireless frequency, and tune it specifically for those blocks and levitate it and have it moved. This like pushing it with your finger, and that block would just float through the air.
Exactly. That would be the perfect way to lift these huge blocks, to build things like Stonehenge and the pyramids and stuff like that. I think this was an ancient technology that probably was held over from Atlantis or someplace like that. That was not forgotten by these people, that was utilized by these people for those very same purposes. And here's one more thing to think about, when you get into this kind of stuff, what Tesla said about the secrets of the universe. You must think in terms of what? Energy, frequency, and vibration. That would be
Absolutely.
the perfect way to lift something. Think about it.
Yep.
Hmm.
You know what's going to be interesting when they find the rest of these tubes and these generators, because it's just not in Egypt underneath the pyramids. It's all over the world. There is points, specific
Yeah.
points all over the earth to generate and to transfer this energy from one place to another.
And to tell you something else, it's not just in Egypt. You got, ancient cities in South America with these huge walls and 2 or 3 ton blocks that you can't even put a piece of paper between them. They're so well fitted together. How can you cut something like that with primitive tools?
Right.
Nah, I don't buy that. I don't believe that. You have to sell me another bill of goods there. I mean, we're looking at stuff that we can do it today, but look how much heavy equipment we have to use to do that. They
And
didn't have heavy equipment, or did they?
and
They
our
didn't.
modern equipment sometimes can't lift the tons that these stones were.
Yeah. I don't know about them being liquefied, but they definitely were lifted somehow, other than the way we think they were. And even today, with steel cranes and hydraulics, you can't lift blocks like that.
Right.
Not easily.
I was
No.
reading I was reading an old text the other day that described that there is a plant that when you crush it up and get the liquid or the oil out of it, that if you apply that to a mortar between bricks, that you could literally turn that stone, soften it, and it would form to one another and then harden back up. So maybe they levitated everything in place with the free energy, and then they put that mortar on there and pushed them together. And then they just magically formed together
Could have
by
been like mortar.
softening.
It would have been like mortar in a way. Yeah.
Yeah, because in the jungles there was conquistadors and people walking through the jungles with spurs or metal parts on their boots, and they were disintegrating. And they asked if they walked through this place with the reddish plants, or there are reddish plants and leaves, and they it's like an acid to steel and stone.
Yeah, I think I've heard of that. Yeah. They were looking for stuff like that would turn the properties of metal into different things as well. This is almost like an alchemy type thing.
Right.
In
This is
alchemy,
a natural plant. That's what's strange about it.
you can have the ability in alchemy to transmute metals and stuff. That includes also crystals, and that also includes stone.
Absolutely.
Yeah, fascinating stuff when you think about it. There are a lot of secrets that have been lost over the years, and the government may know about some of these secrets, but don't want us to know. They have access to a lot. We got to remember this: the governments of the world have a lot of access to knowledge that you and I don't have, Gerald, because they
Right.
make it their business to do that. And just like we've talked about, and we talked about Mount St. Helens with them, airlifting Sasquatch off the mountain and all that. They know about these things. They were talking about the other day. You can go back and look at some of these older manuals that the government put out where they actually have chapters on Bigfoot in there.
Right. They have
They
everything.
know about this stuff, and they've known about it. They've got more knowledge about these things than you and I will ever have because that's the way they operate.
Yeah. I mean, you brought up the Bible verse about nothing new underneath the sun. Well, I mean, it always says, you repeat history, you're doomed to repeat history. Well, that's not only our mistakes, but also our technologies. Our technologies will come back eventually.
Well, here's the thing about it, Gerald. When you look at mankind's got this real strange quirk. Okay, think about this a moment. What one man comes up with, another man comes up with, and they can be thousands and thousands of miles apart, but they come up with the same thing. Okay,
Absolutely.
I mean, it's almost as if there's a consciousness at work here. You know, connecting all this, I call it a connected consciousness kind of a thing going on. And here's the funny thing about it: they not only come up with the same thing, they come up with the same techniques to do these things.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, it's wild.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot. I mean, even Tesla said, whether he was alien or not, or got these downloads from the Akashic records, or some higher being gave it to him somehow. And I mean, you just have all these instances where people talk about where all of a sudden they either dreamed of it or it just came to them or whatever. So it has to come from somewhere.
Would you go back, Gerald? You go back to the Nephilim thing, okay? You go back to the fallen. What did they do? Supposedly, they gave man science. They gave us knowledge to make war. They gave us knowledge to make machines, because machines drive what? War. Okay. They drive industry. That drives war. Okay. It all comes down to the fact that we have supposedly been given an almost like hand in free hand in this forbidden knowledge. You know what I'm saying? That they have given us over the years for one purpose, and usually one purpose only, that hopefully they sow the seeds of our own destruction in that respect. You know what I'm saying? And how many times has that worked to their advantage? You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
How many times has that destroyed civilizations that we don't know about? Because that is what their ulterior motive was to begin with. They wanted to sow those seeds of our destruction. And how better than that present it with science and religion and learning and writing and all this other stuff? They did that not because they love us, not because they wanted us to have a good life. They used this fallen angelic technology to doom us if they could. That's what the whole point of the matter is. And unfortunately, we took to it like duck to water. You know what I mean?
Yep. I mean, you talk about all this technology. I mean, if you look at the deserts that stretch out pretty much in a row across the planet, they're on the same plane, or they're connected somehow, or were connected at one time. That goes back to the Lemurian and the Atlantic War, where they had like nuclear bombs. They said if you dig down in any desert far enough, or depending on how big the desert is, that you'll find glass beads. And the only way you can get glass beads is from a hot reaction, like a nuclear bomb.
And here's another thing. The tree of knowledge of good and evil. What kind of fruit was hanging on that tree, Earl? You know what I'm saying? The fruit of knowledge of good and evil, the way to wage war, to do things to your fellow man that are not nice. That dark science that we've talked about, alchemy, witchcraft, all this stuff, this forbidden knowledge, it was hanging on that tree of knowledge. No wonder God wanted to keep us away from that to a certain extent. A lot of people think God's a bad guy. He didn't want us to have knowledge, but this was knowledge that would do what to us? Destroy us. And so you don't, as it says in the Bible, if your child asks for bread, you don't give him a rock. So I think a lot of this was kept from us to try to preserve us, not because we're trying to be mean about it, because they know what we're going to do. Look at the lesson of the Tower of Babel.
Right.
They're all working together, cooperating. You think you can do anything? They let science run amok on them, Science took over. But you know what? Science without soul is not true science.
Yep. I mean, just like the Tower of Babel, whether you consider that and Noah's flood as a reset, whether you consider it biblical or a natural reset. I mean, I think eventually it happens that we get so powerful and so overconfident that we eventually, man, wants to conquer and they want to be the rulers of the world. We just automatically do that. Everybody wants to control something. So eventually you'll probably have another reset.
And if the control is bad, if you're like living under despotism and evil, you need to reset things, definitely. You know what I'm saying? That's what happened with the Nephilim. They so corrupted the world. The world was so corrupted, it had to be reset. How many times did that happen?
And just like the Atlantic and Atlanteans and Lemurians, they had their nuclear war and they almost destroyed each other. They just had so many of each race or each continent left that they had to separate to survive. So that's why they all went into hiding to survive, because they created their own reset.
And that's the thing about those echoes of ancient memory. They have a lesson to teach us, you know? We need to be wary of these things and understand what we're dealing with and how the things that we have cannot help us as much as hurt us sometimes. You know what I'm saying? And
Yep.
not only us, but our fellow man as well. Some of this knowledge is not happy to have. It's not a thing to have. Look at the first crime was murder. Okay, I always find it very interesting. The first actual crime wasn't stealing something. It wasn't cheating somebody out of something. It was murder. Okay, that's bad when you think about it. Okay,
Right.
uh, it wasn't blue collar crime. That's for sure because they didn't have blue collars. That's for sure too. But anyway, uh, things go south, as they used to say, it goes really quickly. You know what I mean? And that's what knowledge will do for you. And I've always asked this question in a lot of lectures I've done over the years. Why is forbidden knowledge forbidden? You got to ask that question. What's the reason for it? There's got to be a reason behind it. Why is it forbidden? Maybe it might be a bad thing. You ever wonder about that?
Well, I think that it's such a high technology or some kind of knowledge that if man got control of it, we would probably turn it into something bad, or we'd let it get out of control.
Yeah. Unfortunately, Gerald, mankind cannot be trusted with some of this
I mean,
stuff.
just like our
That's how
military,
we talk.
it could take something that is supposed to be wonderful and helpful for the whole world, and they'll weaponize it somehow and use it to their benefit.
Mm-hmm. That's the same thing that we've talked about so many times with robotics and cloning and AI and all this other stuff. These quantum computers that outthink you by like 1,000 trillion times a second can outthink in mind. This is this is great stuff, but it has to be used in a great way, and it's not going to be used in a great way. It's going to be used in a bad way most of the time to
Right.
control other people, to do things that are not nice. That's just the nature, the very fallen, sinful nature of mankind. It's going to
I
come
mean,
through every time, no matter what you do. That's why I don't trust mankind. Okay,
most of
I
these
don't trust them.
programs, whether it's the robots or the electric cars, the driverless cars, are
But you know
all
what?
subsidized by the government. And if the government has anything to do with it, don't think there isn't a back door or some kind of program in there where they can control it. Even the Ford Motor Company came out with an electric car that if you started missing its payments, it's going to lock you out of that car and it will drive to the nearest dealership and turn itself in.
They're always looking for two things: how can we weaponize it, then control everybody with it? That's always their mindset on these things. And I think that's what was behind this fallen angel technology. And I'm not going to get into that tonight, but I think that's another reason behind that. It's another way to control mankind. That's what it
Right.
is. That's all it is.
I mean, don't think eventually that your manservant or your robot servant, whatever it is in your car and your smart house, eventually won't lock you and keep you in your house if the government decides that you need to stay home, or or your robot that was your servant to take care of you could keep you in your house and not let you go anywhere.
You'll be very hard pressed to ever find a real doctor that would do anything for you without money being involved. Okay. That's the way that goes. Because believe me, I've been around the medical profession 30 some odd years. I spent with my life around, and I know how these guys work. It's all about the money. And here's the marketing part of it, Gerald. Okay. Marketing says we're going to get you to believe you need this, you can't live without it, and that you're good with it.
Yep.
The way it works, and that's the way even the fallen angels work. Okay, when you think about it, and all this other Nephilim technology and all this other stuff, it works that way, saying, "Oh, you're gonna love this. You can't live without it, and you're good with it." That's the way you sell stuff. It's time immemorial. That's the way it goes, and that's the way the government does too. The government, medical profession, all of them do that. I can't sell you a car unless I tell you, Gerald, you absolutely need that car.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just like, and I don't know how far you want to go into this, but it's just like our healthcare system. Like if the people that have the socialist healthcare, the healthcare that supposedly they say they don't pay for, but they do eventually in the long run. But those doctors, it might take you months to schedule a surgery or get in to see them, and then they determine, okay, based on your age and how you're doing, are you worth having this surgery?
But here's the mad thing about it, okay? There's no soul to this, there's no heart in it because they don't care how long you suffer. You know
No,
what I'm saying? They really don't care how long you suffer or how much. The only thing you're looking at is how much money they can make off your suffering. You understand what I'm saying? They don't care about your suffering. They have no care for you in that way. It's all about, what's in it for them and not you. And like I say, there have been, I've known instances where people have needed medication, and medication would be held up for weeks by the insurance company. Meanwhile, those people needed that medication to keep from dying. And the insurance company don't care about that. They just care about the money.
right? Absolutely. I mean, that's why
There's
that
no
one guy,
heart. There's no heart. There's no caring behind it.
that's why that big pharma guy that jacked up the price of insulin because he knew everybody needed insulin to live. They had to buy it. So he jacked up the price 3 times or more.
Yeah. Because they can what? Make more money off of it. That's what it's all about.
Yeah, they don't care about you.
No, 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 no. That's like I said. You'd be hard pressed to find a doctor that won't do something for you without money being involved in it. I've never seen one. They gotta have it. They gotta get paid for that. And there's no human kindness in this, folks. Human kindness is thrown out the window in this. Okay, it's all about the money. My grandfather used to tell me many years ago. Always be very, very, very suspicious of anything having to do with a lot of money. That's so
Absolutely.
true. You know? But you know what? Here's the bad thing about it. We need to have empathy. We need to have sympathy. We need to have feelings for our human beings. But that's a sign of the times. As time goes on, we're all going to see that go out the window. A little bit more every day. A little bit more and more and more. We will have no longer the empathy for people. We'll have no feeling for people. It's going to be me, 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 and the heck with everybody else. That's the way they're gonna look at it, and that's
Right.
the way it's going today. You see that happening right in front of you. But that's what the Bible said about it being what as it was in the days of Noah. So shall it be in the days of the coming of the Son of Man. That's exactly what you're going to see. The days of Noah are coming back. That's the days of the Nephilim. The Nephilim is still with us. The spirit of it. Definitely.
Absolutely. And we've mentioned it before, and I know you have, that love is the strongest energy in the world. That if you cast out love for one another, that that'll overcome any evil, anything. I mean, just like the love of God. I mean, it's so strong and so powerful. So I think that's why they've divided us and get us to fight with each other over little stupid things. I mean, everybody's just up in arms over some of the dumbest things, and I think it's to stop this love, this compassion, this empathy towards one another.
But you know what? That's one of the signs of the end times, that Jesus talked about in the Bible when he said, as it will be in the days of Noah, so shall it be then. And in the love of many will wax cold. What does that mean? You know,
Yeah,
you're only in it for yourself. You don't care about anybody else. That's the way. That's the attitude. And you look at people today. Look at the way people drive on the highways. You know, the way people treat you in the stores. We laugh and call them Karens and all that, but I mean, there are people are ready to cut your throat if you look at them the wrong way.
absolutely.
If you're a different political persuasion, they're ready to hate you with no stops on it. Okay, what's the next thing? You know what? They're inciting people right now. I'm not going to get political tonight, but they are incite some political people of political persuasion are inciting some people to burn other people's property down.
Yep.
Because they don't like the guy that made it.
Absolutely. I mean, we've had road rage for a long time, but not as bad as it is now. We seem like we have road rage every day. And I think a lot of this store stuff, people in stores confronting each other, I think it was a psyop by the government for this Black Friday. Look how many people rioted and almost killed each other. And there was a lot of deaths reported during these Black Fridays.
That's true. And Blue Eyed Bandit, you're very right about that. But it's not just the TV. It's public as well. It's movies, it's songs, it's music, it's sports. The list goes on and on and on and on. It's not just one thing. If it was just the TV, we might get rid of it. But it's not. It's across the board in every aspect of our civilization. The very wrong lessons are being taught, not just to the young people, but to the older people as well, day after day after day. And the more this gets inside of you, the darker you become.
Right.
That's just the way it goes. Yeah.
It though it wouldn't hurt though to turn off the TV and turn off the radio and the outside source and all the frequencies, whether it's the internet, Wi-Fi, cell phones, just turn off and get away from it for a while.
And that's why I tell people a lot, Gerald, and I think you've told this too. People need to get away from that once in a while. They need to put the phone down. They need to walk away from that phone for a while. They need to walk away from TV. They need to go away from the news. You need to go out by yourself and go sit under a tree somewhere or something, and just relax and clear your mind, recharge your batteries, the batteries of your soul, by the way. I'm not talking about your physical batteries. You need that too. But I'm talking about your soul batteries. You need to recharge those every once in a while. You need to go away from this stuff. Clear your mind. Sort of like, I like that old saying, every once in a while, I have to go on an adventure just to clear the cobwebs out of my life.
Right.
That's what you need to do. You need to clear those cobwebs out of your life every now and then because they accumulate so much that you'll be blinded to the light. You can't see the light anymore, So you need to get away once in a while and get away from it all. And you just go off by yourself. You will find a calmness and a peace there that you need that will recharge those spiritual batteries.
Absolutely.
You need to commune with God and nature to find out who you really are anymore. You got to get grounded.
Got to have your quiet time. You got to listen.
Absolutely. And especially more and more the way the world's becoming, you need that essentially. It's an essential thing for your survival. not just your mind,
Right.
but every bit of you. The whole balance of your life depends upon that, and it's a good thing to do that. You know.
I always, we always talk about the Holy Trinity in the church, the Son, the Father, and the Holy Spirit. But I think us as human beings, we also have a holy Trinity. We have our mind, body, and soul that we have to protect and guard at all times.
Exactly right. That represents those, and those are the main three parts, of course. But the eyes and the ears and the mouth are the windows to the soul as well. What goes in you, is what you become. Just like whatever food you eat is what you are. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
If you did, let's put it this way: if you eat nothing but sausage 24/7, you would eventually become a hog. Okay, you'd be almost like a hog. Okay. What goes in you is what you will become, and that is very true. And that's where the corruption begins inside of you, not on the outside.
Right. I mean, we're just vessels. Whatever we take in, that's what we hold, whether it's dark, whether it's good, light, evil. If we put bad things into our vessel, then that's what we're going to end up being on the inside.
Absolutely, that's what Jesus meant when he said, if your eye be dark, how great is that darkness? If only the light, there's only dark in there. You know, there's no room for the light. You know, and you don't want to ever get in that situation because those people are people that end up being lost souls. They've lost completely out on the light. There's nothing but darkness left in them. It eats you up. It eats you up alive, like a cancer of the soul, of the spirit. You have to be very careful about that stuff. And not, like I say, that's why I talk about, and like you were talking about, those three things. Those are the things that balance in you, in your existence. The balance between your spirit, your spirit and your body, and your intellect. That balance has to remain right. If one thing gets unbalanced, then it's just like a wheel with a bad hub on it. It's not going to turn right.
Right. Yep.
You know.
You got to wobble.
So you got to be very careful about that balance, having it fixed, having it right all the time. But yes, bad actors in this world, Earl, they want to keep us from that kind of knowledge. They don't want us to do that. They want to keep you under control. They want to keep you divided. They want to keep, I call it pigeonholing people, put you right where they want you,
Yep.
That's the way they operate. But unfortunately, that's going to get worse as time goes on. That's just the way it goes. Right. The bad thing about this world, Earl, is it is suffering from the disease of sin. Sin and darkness, they're all the same thing. They're suffering from this infection of this disease of sin. And things are not going to get better until they get taken care of by the true creator of all things. Man's not going to do it. We can't find our own paradise. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
There used to be that old saying about getting thrown out of Eden. We went east of Eden. The Bible says he went out of Eden and went east. And it seemed like that even when we had paradise, we weren't satisfied with it.
It's never enough.
Yep. But that's the way it goes with mankind. That's why I say man is such a being that he can't be trusted with anything like that because he's infected with that disease called sin. Yep. Once you take care of that infection, then the man changes.
Absolutely.
Judy Willis says he walked away all that in my heart and soul, need that recharge in my life. That's the way you gotta do it, man. Yes, you gotta definitely look into doing that. And I mean do it on a regular basis. Not just once in a great while, like a holiday or something. You need to do this on a regular basis. Go out alone by yourself, just sit, be quiet, and listen. That's how you truly. Let me tell you, the best way to commune with God is shut up and listen.
That's right.
And that's the way I say a lot of people pray the wrong way. They say, God, give me this, God, give me that. God, do this for me, God, do that. God must get real bored with that after a while, okay? That ain't where you really, really pray for things. God knows what you need. better than you know what you need. What you need to do is to be worshiping God and trying to become one with God and trying to have a relationship. You know, if your wife come up to you every day and said, "I want this, I want that, give me," your relationship would soon suffer for that. Okay, that's not a real good relationship. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm talking about.
Right.
A lot of people have that problem. That's why you have that word called divorce. You know, people get divorced because of things like that. But that's not the kind of relationship you need to have with your creator. You know, that's not really much of a
Right.
relationship at all. It's not gimme, I want kind of thing all the time. That's
Absolutely.
where you get into the selfish mode of me. God wants a humble heart. You know, God loves a humble heart. He wants you to be humble before Him. That's what He wants. That's how you
Absolutely.
have a relationship with God. You start learning things. You start listening. You know, that's why I told somebody on a podcast the other night about the Holy Spirit, which teaches you. It's not just a guide, but it teaches you things. It protects you and projects your mind, gives you that right kind of mind that you need. But it can teach you things as well. But you got to listen in order to learn.
Yeah. I mean, it's just like you said, God or Jesus is not a genie in a bottle where it's going to give you your worldly desires and everything you wish for. It's not three wishes. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, you can't keep complaining and asking God to take me out of this misery all the time, complete because you never, like you said, you never quiet down, you never listen. You might not hear what God's telling you. You might not get the lesson or the answer that you want because you're continuously putting an upload up to God instead of downloading what He has to say to you.
Oh yeah, and another thing is if you're gonna pray for somebody else, not yourself. Put somebody else
Absolutely.
in front of you. God likes that too, by the way. You put somebody else in front of you. Pray for. You know what God said? Pray for your enemies. Don't just pray for your friends and your buddies. You pray for your enemies. Okay, and that guess what? Will that will do? It will make you a better person.
Absolutely. I mean, just like you said earlier, quit asking, quit. I mean, there is times you need to ask. It needs to be something worthwhile, though, whether it's a sickness or a health thing or something really bad is happening in your life. Sure, God expects you to come to Him and ask, but just the
Yeah.
trivial stuff day in and day out to keep asking, why don't I have this? Why is this not working? Try in your time of moment, your quietness, try to praise Him and thank Him for the things that have gone right in your life, things that are good in your life, and see how your life will turn around and how your weeks and months will change over time by doing that.
That's true. Very true. And another thing is, like I say, a lot of people are praying wrong here. You need to examine yourself. That's what Jesus meant when He said, "Take the beam out of your own eyes, and you can see the beam in your brother's eye." You got to first work on your own. And if you want to pray for yourself, just ask God to make you a better person, or to put more love in you for other people. That's the way that works. That's what you need to be praying for. Not $1 million, not a better job, not a fancy car or yacht or whatever it is you think you need that's going to make you happy. You know what? We've talked about that. You and I have talked about that before, Gerald. Nobody or no thing is put on this planet to make you happy.
Right.
You are the only person that can make you happy. That's it.
Yep.
God's not going to make you happy. A relationship with God can make you happy, but God's not there as a jar full of happiness for you. Everything's not going to turn up roses just because you have a relationship, but you need to change, not God.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Imagine if your biggest enemy be your best friend. Well, I had one like that one time. Uh, we all have met one like that once in a while. So you need to pray for them too. I don't care who it is, whatever they've done to you, whatever it is, that humbles your heart to pray for your enemies. Well, what did Jesus say the way to pray? And my favorite thing is the Lord's Prayer, because that is what He taught you. And forgive us our debts as we forgive those, in debt to us.
Right. Who have wronged us.
You got to forgive people, or God can't forgive you. That works that way, folks. That's the way it works. Unless you forgive, sometimes you got to forgive yourself too. By the way,
Absolutely.
you got to forgive yourself too. Then God can forgive you. If you hold that between you and God, it's going to be a bad situation. But you better not leave this world hating somebody or not forgiving somebody for anything they may have done to you. Don't do that, because then that keeps God from forgiving you. God wants to forgive you.
That's
But
right.
you don't want to impede Him from it. That's where that old saying comes in. Like I've said that before many times, and I think you agree with me on that, Joe. I'm nobody's judge but my own. I'm nobody. I don't want that job. No, thank you. I'm not
That's
going to
right.
tell you you're going to heaven, you're going to hell, you need this religion, you need that religion. That ain't my job. But I'm not going to tell you how to live your life. That's not my job. Don't judge not lest you be judged. That's what it says.
I am not my brother's keeper.
Yep. So, we need to stop that judging people for things too. But that's what a lot of this religion is based on. They're trying to scare you into stuff. They shouldn't. That's what man-made religion's all about, directing you the way they want you to go.
And make a profit off of it.
What did Jesus say? Seek first, the kingdom of God. That's the real deal, not some earthly man-made religion. And unfortunately, religion is used just like what we were talking about earlier. The government uses, that marketing to sell you stuff. They use religion too. Oh, God thinks that you should have this. They use that too. Religion is a tool that they use too, folks. Absolutely. Another arrow in their quiver. That's what it was designed for. Control all that.
Absolutely.
I think it's very funny, and I'm not going to get too religious tonight, but there was a guy hanging on the cross next to Jesus. And that man didn't have to do anything. He didn't have to, he couldn't even put his hands together and pray. He didn't get down on his knees. He couldn't. He was on a cross, okay? He couldn't get down on his knees. He didn't have to get baptized. He didn't go to a certain church. He just said one thing: Lord, remember me when you come into your kingdom. And what did Jesus tell him? This day you shall be with me in paradise.
That's
He
right.
didn't have to sign a charter and be a member of a church. He just had to believe. That's a good lesson right there. Absolutely. That's true, Judy. That's absolutely true. The love of God needs to be in all of us. The love of God is the most powerful force in the universe. It's a mountain, like Mount Shasta we've been talking about, that can't be moved. No, I'm not talking about that, Damon. I'm talking about Barabbas. I'm talking about the thief that hung on the cross next to Jesus. I'm sorry. It was not Barabbas. Barabbas didn't have anything about that.
Right.
It's the cross. I think it was on his right, if I'm not mistaken, Gerald. The man on the right.
Yep. The thief.
No, they chose Barabbas instead of Jesus,
That was just to tell you how wicked the world was, that they took the most evilest murderer, Barabbas, and saved his life instead of the one that was supposed to save the life of the world.
But you know what? They were fulfilling prophecy. What did they say? You know, Pilate told him, said, "This man has no fault. Why do you want him?" And he said, "He'll, we will, give us Barabbas, and Jesus' blood be on our hands." It was sort of fulfilling the prophecy. But that's the way the world works. They want the worldly man, not the one that can save them. That's the way it goes. There's supposed to be a gospel of Barabbas. I don't know if that's true. It may be an agnostic type kind of a thing. I don't know.
Or it
A
might be
Gnostic.
fake.
There's
We don't
supposed
know.
to be one, I think. I think Barabbas supposedly went on to be converted, did he not? Something like that, Joe?
I do not know. I think that's how it goes, but I could not tell you 100%.
According to legend, I don't know if that, really true or not. Barabbas was actually a rebel. He was wanting to overthrow the Roman Empire. That's why he got put in jail. He was a rabble rouser.
Everybody knew his name, that's for sure.
That's probably why the people wanted him. He was sort of a hero to the people because he was a rabble rouser, kind of guy. But I've noticed in the world today there is actually a concerted effort to destroy the Bible, the Word of God, and everything that it stands for. And I'm not talking about religion. I'm talking about the Word of God. There is a concerted effort. There are enemies of the Word out there, folks. Be very careful who you listen to and what you listen to. Because there are some people out there who are definitely, they call it a book of fairy tales and all that. They try to put it down, demean it in every way possible. You don't hear them doing that to anybody else except the Christian Bible. Does that tell you something right there?
Yep, absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the way this world is now and the way our government acts now, if they tell you not to read the Bible, I got to wonder, why don't they want you to read the Bible?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's truth in there they don't want you to know about. That's the problem. That's why the Word of God, as it says in the Bible, will stand forever. It will never go away. So my word will last for eternity. His word is true because he has spoken those words and they have taken life. The word was God, the word was with God, and the word became flesh and dwelt among men. Jesus was the word of God.
Right?
And so if you attack the word of God, you are attacking, guess who? What's the name, Gerald?
Jesus.
There you go. Yep. And you know what? If you attack Jesus, then you're attacking God and you're attacking everything Christianity stands for. And I'm not talking about religion now. Don't get those two mixed up again. I'm talking about true Christianity. If you attack Christianity, then you defeat the purpose of what God intended to begin with, your salvation. When you fight against that, you are fighting against your own salvation. Isn't that stupid, Joe?
That's right.
That don't make sense when you think about it. But that's the way people do it. So you don't wake up one day and say, "Uh-oh, I'm on the wrong side," because then it might be too late. I tell you something, Blue Eyed Bandit. We all need to learn as much of the Bible as possible because one day you may not be allowed to have one.
That's just like the premise of the movie, the Book of Elijah, or Eli, the Book of Eli. I'm sorry, that movie.
Yeah, Book of Eli. Yeah.
Where he memorized the Bible, then they ended up, he had to give it to him word for word so he could write it down again.
We need to learn it as much as possible. We need to put it in us. It exists. It will become a living thing in you to a certain extent. The Word of God. The more you learn on it. And like I said, if you let the Holy Spirit, it will teach you as well. Spiritually written, spiritually read. It has to be seen and read through a spiritual aspect of this thing to fully understand it and take it in. But we need to learn as much of it as possible, because I think the day is coming when they make, you may not be able to have a Bible and live at the same time. Okay, that has happened. Look at communist China. You can get put in jail the rest of your life for owning a Bible in communist China.
Right.
That's coming, folks. Because that Bible, you remember, the Word of God is a threat to the evil and darkness of this world. Why? Because they are the enemies of truth and light.
Yep.
That's why it's a threat to them. And anybody comes out against that, you got to wonder what side are they supposed to be truly on. You know what I'm saying? And if you come out with other things like a lot of this new age crap that's going on, you believe in all this stuff, you are defeating, you are going against, you are an enemy of what the real truth is. And that's not a good place to be, okay? Trust me, you don't want to get in that position, because then you're standing with the darkness. You're in a bad place. And here's the bad thing about that, and I've known this happen a lot of times. You get in those kind of situations like that, you got a target on your back.
Absolutely.
I mean, a big neon target. You can be found in the dark, and that's where you'll be. And believe me, certain things in this world will come after you and unalive you very quickly, because they want to keep you as far from the truth as possible. And when they get you as far from the truth as possible, bam, that's when they want to kill you, so you have no hope of ever getting back to that truth. That's the way they work.
Yep. It's just like all the disciples, especially Paul, when he went out and preached in the synagogues and out in town squares, that they had to imprison him because they knew he had such freedom and such truth that if it got out, spread out to the people, the government wouldn't be able to control him any longer. So they had to get him out. They had to get him away from the people. So they imprisoned him, and he still kept preaching.
It's very simple put this way: the Lord of darkness is the Lord of slavery. But God is a God of freedom. And that's why Gerald and I both talked about this before. You are given certain God given freedom in this world. Don't let anybody take it away from you, because that's a gift from God. Your freedom didn't come from the United States government. Your freedom didn't come from a book in school. Your freedom doesn't come from the news media or nobody else. Your freedom alone comes from Almighty God. Your freedom to live, your freedom to pursue happiness, your freedom to be free from these things. But darkness, on the other hand, is all about evil, is all about slavery. That's what it is. And there are many kinds of slavery, by the way. But just like in China, they don't kill you right off because you're more valuable as slave labor.
Right.
But you'll be a slave without a Bible, that's for sure. Absolutely. But that's the way these things work. They is you. And like, Gerald and I have talked about before, when you get older and you don't pay taxes anymore, guess what? The government marks you E for expendable.
Yep, just like China and all other past civilizations, when they've outlawed the Bible or the holy text, they wouldn't have a complete work. They'd have little snippets, little pages, little parts of the Bible, and they would read it and memorize it. Then they would trade with somebody else on their underground connections to spread the word out. So one family would memorize one section of the holy text, and they would send it to the next person, and they would get another sheet to memorize.
Well, there's a story about this, supposedly, where Thomas Jefferson edited the Bible one time. You hear about that? He edited the Bible and took out everything he didn't like, and ended up with, guess what? He didn't have nothing left. George Washington said something very interesting to him. Maybe, Thomas, you read it the wrong way.
Right.
Maybe you did.
Right.
Galatians 5:13, you, my brothers, were called to be free, but do not use your freedom to indulge in sinful nature. Rather, serve one another in love. Absolutely. God is not about breaking the rules. Even God has his own rules that he cannot go against and be God. It's not about that. It's about the good kind of freedom, not the freedom that you abuse. You don't abuse freedom. But yeah, that has to be said, definitely. The number one motto of Satanism is, are you ready for it? Do so for what you will. Do whatever you want. No, that's not true freedom, folks. Doing whatever you want.
Right.
That's not true freedom. That is slavery. But anyway.
Yep.
So when you get that jet, Gerald, you call me. We'll fly out to Mount Shasta and kick around a while. Why don't we camp out there for a while, huh?
Yeah. Yeah. We'll camp out and see what
Yeah.
we can see and see what we can find. Maybe we can find that underground city.
Yeah, we might go spelunking.
Slide down a lava tube and see if we end up down there.
Oh yeah. As long as there ain't no lava at the end of it, I'll be all right.
Or giant spiders.
Yeah, don't want to run in no lava that could be kind of touchy. But anyway, that is definitely the mecca of weirdness out there, definitely. Absolutely. You probably, to write a book on it, probably somebody has. There's enough information there, definitely enough connections. A lot of rabbit holes in Mount Shasta.
And it's not like it's old reports. We're still having UFO reports, still having Bigfoot reports, still having alien reports, still having reptilian reports, and people still hearing the drum beats of like the Native American drums, the choirs. It's all still going on.
Oh yeah. Yep. It's amazing. It still is continuous. It's not just something in the past. I feel like Robot Grandma, like Blue Eyed Madison. Robot Grandma.
Robot
Yeah.
grandma.
I wouldn't mind having a robot grandma as long as she cleaned the house,
There's a good Twilight Zone about robot grandma.
Well, yeah. That's taken from a very famous story called I Sing the Body Electric. She was the ideal grandmother, wasn't she?
Yep. Would always be there for her grandchildren.
Oh, yeah. Manisha says, that's why I love this community. I feel like we lift each other up. We pray for each other, and I think of you guys as friends. Well, we think of you as friends.
Absolutely.
Each and every single one of you. We love you, and we're glad you tune in and you support us. And we enjoy getting on here and connecting, right, Gerald?
That's right. Absolutely. We got to spread the love, and the only way we can love each other and love ourselves is to spread it out.
It's just like sitting around having some coffee with friends. Wait a minute, where's the coffee at? I forgot it. I don't drink coffee this time of night. I probably wouldn't sleep all night about it. Some people can drink it. I'm a one cup of guy. I'm a one cup a day guy. That's it.
My grandparents always had a pot of coffee on their stove. No matter when you went over there was always a hot pot of coffee on their stove.
I can't do that. My stomach would rot out, probably.
I don't drink coffee. I haven't done that since grandma and grandpa passed away. But my parents hardly ever drank coffee except for when they had, special occasions or people over or whatever. Then they'd put a pot of coffee on. But other than that, we didn't have coffee.
Well, I never used to ever in my life drink coffee. Maybe about like once a year at Christmas, I might drink a cup of black coffee, at a party or something. But when I quit smoking years ago, I got hooked on coffee. I guess it was, get rid of the
Replace
nicotine
one with
and
the
put
other.
caffeine in place. Yeah. But like I say, I'm just one cup, and I don't eat food with it. I drink it alone. That's it. I don't. I couldn't. Ooh, it make the food taste bad to me. I'm not that big of a fan of coffee. Um, like I say, one cup and that's it, and I have to have some cream in that. So there you go. I used to try the black coffee, but I don't know.
That's
Stomach
how
won't take.
that's how my grandma Adolson used to make it for me. It was like tons of sugar and tons of cream. It was almost like liquid candy when she would give it to me.
I don't know if I want too many. I don't think I want no. I don't like sweet coffee. No.
Oh, I loved it. As a kid, I loved it.
Yeah.
But as an adult, I never drank coffee.
Yeah. But anyway, I like my caffeine cold usually. Soda or something like that.
Yeah.
I was telling you about that the other day. One of my fondest childhood memories. I told you about that movie theater I used to go to, and they had a machine in there that had the sheer wine in it, and would put it in a cup with crushed ice in it. You don't mind, good. And that was the best tasting. You can't. I don't know if they changed the formula on it or what, but that was the best one. And I've never been able to find it since then. But I'd love to have another cup of that. That was good
Wow.
stuff. Well, I used to have an uncle. I mean, he just constantly drank coffee all the time. I couldn't do it. Well, we appreciate you all being here tonight. It's been an interesting show. And if you're out that way, head for Mount Shasta and give us a report on it later, okay, if you do. And we might put you back on the show here, huh? Yeah.
That's right.
Mm. Well, we
Send us those
appreciate.
emails. Let us know.
Mhm. Oh yeah, you know what? If you ever have any questions for me, Gerald, you can definitely email us, or if you just want to tell us about something or whatever the situation was. What's your email?
You can reach us at midwestnightwatchers@gmail.com.
And you can reach me at denniswcarroll@gmail.com, or you can also reach me through my website, denniswcarroll.com. Okay. If you ever have anything you want to tell us, I don't care what it is. It don't matter. If you want to tell us a story, you want to ask a question, comment, you want to criticize us, we'll take criticism too if we can.
That's right. We're always
It's
looking to improve ourselves.
yeah. Anyway, whatever you want to do, please always feel free, to contact us. And like what Gerald and I have said before, this is your podcast as well. You have valuable input. We want to hear it.
That's right. I mean, we truly do care about you. So even if you need prayer for anything, or you need us just to lift you up in prayer during our times
Mhm.
of prayer, just let us know. You don't have to tell us specifics. You don't even have to just say, I need prayer.
Absolutely. And you know what? There's a power in prayer, and a whole lot more power and more prayer.
That's right.
People you got praying, the better. Yeah, it works that way. Absolutely.
Everybody says they love your hat tonight, Dennis.
That's my hunting hat.
Safari. Looks like a safari hat.
So since I was going to Mount Shasta tonight, I thought I'd wear it. Thank you, Dennis and Gerald. Great stuff. Good night, everyone. Take care there, Wizard Moon. Good to have you here. And we'll thank all of you, Hans and Damien, and all the rest of you. If I didn't call your name, you're there. And I definitely see you. But we appreciate all of you for being here tonight. Manisha and Jason and the ever lovely Miss Shiro.
Yep. And Judy
And
Wheeler and
Blue Eyed Bandit and all the rest of you guys. We appreciate you being here,
Hans.
definitely. And please get the word out to your friends. We need more people here on the road less travel. Okay, yeah, we
That's
need to
right.
get more here. So put the word out there. Say, hey, I know a couple of crazy old guys that get on here and talk about all kinds of things.
Yep. So if you have a Facebook or social media, share the link out. Share it with your friends and family, or any groups you belong to you think would be appropriate for us to be mentioned in. Go ahead and do it.
That's right. And if you enjoy this, that helps us stay here longer. So you be doing a valuable job. Absolutely. But we appreciate all of you, friends, definitely. And Gerald, what you got coming up this week? You want to let everybody know about?
Well, Wednesday night we have the Night Owl Lounge where we'll just hang out with everybody in chat, almost like what we're doing right now, just hanging out. Whatever comes up in chat, we talk about, and we might show some pictures or some subject. We usually do a cryptid report or UFO report if we can find one. And Friday and Saturday we're only on Rumble doing our creepy movie night, and we might do another old Frankenstein or Dracula movie, and maybe a mystery suspense movie.
I'm going to submit a list pretty soon to him. Okay.
And then Sunday we have Piercing the Veil on both channels, Rumble and YouTube, and we'll have the guest this week is going to be Montauk is Strange. So we got Brian Minnick coming, and where he's got some new information and new stuff. And matter of fact, right now, him and his team are out there at Montauk right now filming and exploring. So we'll have that report coming up Sunday.
That's another place we need to fly off to, Jerome. We need to kick around Montauk a while.
That's right.
Yep. But you need to remind everybody about your store, too.
Absolutely. I don't know if Chiro or somebody's still in chat that they can post a link, but if you go to Midwest Night Watchers at printful.com or printful.me, you can find our stores. We have our logos, just like the shirt, just like the hat I'm wearing tonight. You can get all your merchandise and drinkware with all of our logos, and we have some Bigfoot. We have some alien stuff. We're getting ready to put space penguins on a T-shirt.
There it is right there. And tell them I sent you. I don't know if you get a discount, but you can tell them I sent you anyway. But check out the store. Yes, he has a store. I don't think he takes personal checks, though, do you?
That's all handed electronically, so.
Hey. But anyway, yeah, we support all of our partners. We support Cryptid Huntress, and we support BMR, Bigfoot, Michigan Rob, and Beyond the Box, and we got a long list. We got Chantel from Aquarius Rising Africa. We got the Duchess, Tea Time with the Duchess. We do her. So we support all of these and others that we go with. So follow us from podcast to podcast, and we appreciate that very much when you do. Absolutely, we like that fan support. Absolutely, and we appreciate all of you being here. And don't forget, Wednesday night, 9 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time, I will be appearing again on Hunting the Shadows, and then Friday night at. Friday night at 9 o'clock p.m. Eastern Standard Time, Paranormal Point of View. That will be on there as well. And appreciate all of you checking in with us. And like I said, like Gerald said, now, if you want to contact us for anything, whatever it may be, prayer, whatever you want to talk, don't hesitate to do it. We are here, definitely. And guess where we're at? We're in your corner. Okay? Absolutely. Right. Don't forget that. Well, we appreciate every one of you for being here tonight. It means the world to us. And we thank you so much for taking the journey with us to Mount Shasta tonight. It was interesting, and who knows what we'll come up with next, but we'll see. Definitely. It'll be something off the wall, hopefully. But we appreciate you all for being here, definitely. And thank you so much for your support. And until we get together again, Godspeed.
Good night, everybody. God
Ciao.
bless.